Hey, Flats, before we start this week's podcast, we revealed on the Instagram that we've started 2 new accounts, All Out Club and All Out NBA.
Yep, we've started 2 new ones, and All Out NBA is the perfect Instagram page for you NBA addicts and fantasy addicts for NBA followers. And the All Out Club is just all sports in one.
Yeah, mate, and it's exciting times as well because we did reveal that there's a merch line coming, All Out Club, and...
Yep.
Bents, who did the logo, has done a fantastic job, and I really like the cream colours with the
they're
dark
looking
green.
good. Don't give them any hints yet, though.
No, we won't. But I have seen a few of the few images of the merch, and it is exciting stuff.
It is.
It's
it truly is.
Stuff. And the All Out NBA, again, another account for you guys to follow if you like your NBA, and the boys that are running that, Mackenzie, Ollie, Hindo, and of course, Dor, who does all the templates. They're doing an amazing job at the moment.
We are simply not missing out on any news in the NBA.
I mean, Dor doesn't sleep.
Yeah.
He's just on his phone on Twitter the whole time. So make sure you give those a follow. And if you're listening on Spotify, remember that we are on YouTube now. So if you're more of a visual watcher, we are on YouTube. So make sure to give us a subscribe on that. And we've also got the great bareback biltong here for another week. Biltong. And remember to use code AOF15 on their website for 15% off. Great product. And shout out to those guys as well. Mate, another huge week in the realm of sport if you're an addict.
Oh, the past 2 weeks has been gigantic in the sporting wise.
Crazy, man. And the Ashes, there's so much build up around this third test. Like, you have the subcontinent, which is... atmosphere is completely different to what you'd see in Australia.
Oh, it's second to none.
And then you go to England and it's completely different again. And we're at this time in the series where it's poised at 2-0, the controversy of Bairstow, the start catch.
This is the Kawaja thing in the
Kawaja, the Warner, the long room. We're now heading to Headingley, which is the most hostile atmosphere in world cricket, maybe in world sport.
There's going to be fireworks.
There's going to be fireworks, mate. And well, how do you see the Bairstow incident? Because as a former keeper,
from a former keeper, I see nothing wrong with that. I used to do that on a weekly basis. So personally, I don't see a problem with it. It's on Bairstow. Bairstow should be copping the slack, not Alex Carey.
Yeah, and look, the argument was for Bairstow, right? Is that it's the end of the over, so it was the last ball of the over, and he just tapped mark centre and walked outside his crease. I have no problem with it purely because Alex Carey's caught the ball and thrown it in one motion.
Yeah, exactly.
If he caught the ball and has stopped and then waited for Bairstow to walk out his crease, then yeah.
I did what Carey did, and I was the victim of what happened to Bairstow before. So I'm coming from both directions, and I think there's nothing wrong with it.
And look, I don't want to get political in sports, but England are just A-grade sooks at the moment, man. A-grade sooks.
They are.
Like, you have countless examples and evidence of the same keepers doing the exact same thing. And
the same test, too.
They're questioning the spirit of the game. It's an absolute joke. Anyway, Ashes Thursday. It's going to be unreal, man. And before we even get to that, we got the Demon playing tonight.
Demon Orr. Huge match.
And
but the first round's a bit of it's an easy one for him, really.
Yeah, he's paying $1.02 on sports bet.
But you never know in tennis.
You never know. And it could be your
Gamble
day,
wise.
it could not be.
Responsibly.
But yeah, the Demon plays tonight. The Joker, Djokovic, got through last night. So exciting times for Australian tennis as well.
But there is one sad note in the tennis world. Nick Kyrgios.
Yeah, well, it is disappointing.
It
is disappointing. And he is one of the most controversial tennis players. And you either love him or you hate him. I love him personally. I think he's entertainment-wise.
It's just a shame he couldn't back up what he did last year at Wimbledon.
Yeah, absolutely.
Back in the finals.
And I have no problem in what Nick is trying to do with his health and all that. And he'll be back, I'm sure. Back him for a great return. Anyway, I think that's enough for the world of sport. All Out podcast, all out club podcast. We're going to be going through all the different sports. So if you love your sport, make sure you are subscribed to that one and follow us on the Instagram as well as All Out NBA. Mate, Freddie and Slater revealed their Origin teams for Game
Oh
3,
my
and
God.
boy, do we have some talking points.
I don't know if you saw NRL 360 last night, but
Man, I saw snippets.
Brandy
I saw
was confident.
snippets.
And he was fighting back. Good on him, though. But the team they put out is just... It doesn't make any sense.
It's disgraceful, mate. And I understand Brandy's in a situation where he has to defend his players. So he's picked a team to go out there on next Wednesday night, and you can't talk shit about the team that you've just picked, right?
Yeah.
But when you go through logically what he's missing, he blames Nico Hines not having an opportunity on 360 last night, or having his opportunity and failing, or something like that.
It didn't make any sense. He got 10 minutes in the centres against, what was it, the first game, then didn't get picked for since. It doesn't make any sense. He's the Dally M halfback of the year.
Yeah, and the thing for me is the difference in approach from the coaches. So you have Slater, who will back his boys from day dot, and then you have Brad Fittler, who comes out and says that instead of consoling Luai, saying I should have dropped him, or I could have dropped him after game 1. Like, there's just comparisons and different approaches
I think it's just a trust thing.
into
'Cause
Origin, I think.
Slater definitely trusts who he picks. Fittler, on the other hand, I just don't know if he knows. Well, he's picked, I think it's 7 blokes he's picked for one game, and then the next game they dropped him. So it doesn't make any sense, really.
Yeah, and look, we might be talking out of our ass at the moment, but when you look at it as a Queensland perspective, right, you have that 2020 Origin team where we were write-offs. We had
Paul Gallen, what did he say?
Yeah,
Worst
worst
Origin team in 40 years.
So my question to you, Matt, is this Origin team that New South Wales have selected worse or better than the 2020 Queensland team? Who would you stack up against?
Not if I saw a list and I didn't know one was Queensland and one was New South Wales, I would say New South Wales. But
This is half my point, mate. Because
that's what I mean.
I know, yeah.
But if I saw the Queensland and New South Wales, I'd pick Queensland team.
Yeah, and as a Queenslander, I look at the 2020 Origin Game 3 team and I say, okay, we have a team here. We might be the underdogs, but I still think we can win. I'd love to know as a New South Welshman right now, say, okay, this is the team on paper. New South Wales still can win this. You know, like there's a balance here.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
You know what I mean? But yeah, I'd love to know New South Welshman's thoughts on the team. They have no Haas. They bring in Bradman Best after 3 tries.
Yeah, doesn't make any sense. When was Bradman Best's name brought up ever?
It's just so random.
Like,
So random. And no disrespect to Bradman, he's actually probably having a career year getting the Knights. You raved on about him.
I've been telling the boys to get him in fantasy for the past 10 weeks, so I've always liked a bit of Bradman Best, but I still don't know how he's getting picked in Origin over Isaac Tago. Holy, he's in form.
Yeah, he's playing unreal footy. And then you have the likes of Gutherson, Walker recalled. Who else got recalled? Jake Travojevic. So it seems like they've gone from a dynamic pack to just workers. You know what I mean?
Well,
like, you don't have the likes of Haas. You don't have the likes of all the X factor there. And yeah,
Did Junior Paulo get picked?
I believe so. He got picked, or maybe not. Maybe he didn't.
But I always thought if New South Wales were going to lose the first game, that what's his name?
Olakawatu.
Olakawatu would have got picked, but no, they've gone for the Kulamatangi.
Yeah, and look, I don't hate that pick.
I reckon he should have got picked in the first place as well.
I think it's a good pick. But you just have such a dynamic body in Kulamatangi. Olakawatu, sorry. He's big, he's mobile, he's athletic. Why would you not pick him?
Yeah,
He's
exactly.
perfect for the Origin arena. Imagine him, Haas. Jeez, it'd be a hard team to stop. And there again, they're missing Latrell and Turbo as well. So who's us to judge the New South Wales team when they're not fully fit, am I right?
Yeah, it still should be a good game though.
It should be a good game down in New South Wales as well. But fantasy-wise, mate, a few talking points here. We obviously have the buy round for fantasy. It's the last one of the year for
Thank God.
for those buys. So we've gone from 2 buy rounds in a season to now 3. And I think I think one thing to stress for listeners and coaches, Flats, is that 10 people in your team is actually a pretty good amount.
Yeah, definitely.
Because this week, when you look at it, you have the likes of Hopgood, who could have played, Corey Horsburgh, who could have played. There's two names that probably give you 120 points every week.
Well, a lot of people would have been getting those two in just for the bye round, and then then a week later they're bloody selected for Origin. So it's a bit unlucky, but
the good news is though, you got a solid captaincy choice in Hines this week. Obviously not selected for New South Wales, so just chuck the C on him. And if you don't have him, bring him in for sure.
But Hopgood might still play.
Hopgood this week is in. Yes,
he might play, but he's 19th man. I don't know how it will work, but hopefully he does for fantasy owners.
Yeah, and Tommy Dearden is the 18th man for Queensland. I thought he was unlucky to miss out for the Origin gig after what he put up on
he's
Saturday night.
He's an Origin fantastic player. After DC finishes his representative career, he's next in line for sure.
Absolutely. And once Munster goes and DC moves on, you give Tom Dearden the keys, and it's the start of the new dynasty.
Yeah,
100%. He is unreal. Unreal player, and it's great to see the development of him from the Broncos, who, let's be honest, was in a bit of a turmoil at that time.
Oh, well, we were 100% in turmoil.
And
what was it, wooden spoon?
Yeah, wooden spoon, then you missed the 8, and then just missed the 8 again. But Tommy Dearden, he has become an absolutely fantastic player. But the TLT for this week, Buller retains his spot at fullback, which is good, even though he had an absolute howler on the weekend. What did he get, like 5 or something?
He got 15 points.
15, yeah. Jakey Simpkin has a negative 10 break even, so there's plenty of money for him to be made there. Bad news, though, for Blore is that he's on the bench, which is sort of diabolical.
He's at, what is he, 500k now? But his PPM is that good. If he plays 50 minutes, he should get around 40 to 50. So he's definitely a hold.
Look, Dale Finucane can find the suspension and the judiciary pretty easily these days. He's been suspended for 2 games, which means the ever-reliable Cameron McInnes gets the starting lock role. Would you bring him in for 2 games?
No, I wouldn't. Because they love having Cam McInnes come from the bench, and I don't understand why. But
it's a waste of complete mongrel on the field.
I've said this plenty of times now, but Cam McInnes, before he moved to the Sharks, was top 2 best hookers in the game. Now he's not even considered anything. Just a role player.
Yeah,
as you
will. Doesn't
make
sense. Like, if I was the Dolphins, I'd throw 800k, 900k at them.
Exactly. Actually, not really. JMK is good.
JMK is very good. I put him at 13. And then you have Tom Gilbert on the edge. Tyrell Sign for the Drags has been ruled out because of a calf issue, so he is now sell. And no sign of Jack Bird Flats for this week. And he's in 5% of teams, has quite a high break even, so if you have him, I think it's time to move him on.
Who's playing fullback for the Dragons?
Fullback for the Drags this week is Paul Turner. I believe he came from the Warriors.
Yeah. And then Titans.
Titans, yeah. Good shout that. Canberra's best fantasy player, Corey Horsburgh, is now out due to Origin duty. Great pick for Queensland. Deserved that pick.
You got to have a redhead in your Origin team.
Yeah, absolutely. And he deserves it. Simple as that. He's playing unreal footy. He went from, a 30, 40-minute prop to playing 80 minutes.
He went from a 30, 40-minute prop to back to second grade, now fringe of making his Origin debut.
Yeah. Outstanding improvement again. And if there was a what's the NBA award? Most improved. Who would you give it to? Corey?
It'd have to be Corey, wouldn't it?
I think he's the top candidate.
Or even Jermaine Hopgood.
Well, he's the first on the scene. He's the first year player. Can you give it to a first year player?
No, he's played for Panthers last year.
Maybe. Or Tom Dearden. I'd give it to Tom Dearden. Or Corey.
Tom Dearden was last year.
Corey is the right pick there, I think. Moving on, the Eels. Ryan Madison moves back into the halves to replace Mitchell Moses. They're all over the shop here, the Eels. But they are surging for the 8.
They're finding form. Big time.
And Gutho's obviously out. He's a big out for those ones who got him as a pod because of Origin. And not really much else to report there for the Eels. The Warriors. Sean Johnson is named, but I think there's a bit of late mail here. He could be out. And because of the birth of his second child.
That's big news.
So I think just wait for the late mail on this one. And if you're in that situation where you have a few halves, you could loop him. Using the
If you still got Nicarima, a lot of people have Nicarima.
or Katoa, yeah. Jackson Ford flats Bents. You versed him on the weekend.
Yeah, I came against Jackson Ford. Bents, who's a fellow member of the All Out podcast, decides to buy him. One of the more strange buys I've seen, and he ends up getting 61 against me.
Well, it was shaping up to be a sell, and after the last round 66, he now has a break even of 23. So he is now a hold for this week, Jackson Ford. So well done to those that kept him or brought him in like Bents. For the Rabbits and the Dogs game, there's not really much to report here. Cody Walker's out on Origin duty there. Tyrone Munro's an interesting one. He keeps his spot on the wing, and he's only on 240k. Would you have a trundle there?
Oh, look, at the back end of the year, and you try to cash out as much as you can, like the mid-range players to the cheapies to make cash for you to buy guns. He's definitely an option.
And the good news for my man Toby Sexton, and I remember at the start of the year I tipped him to be the best fantasy player this year. He is an unreal talent.
Was that this year or last year?
It might have been last. I thought it was this year.
No, it was last year. Sure.
Was it last year? Mate, I tipped Toby Sexton to be the next Cooper Cronk. Honestly, I think he's an unreal player.
He's actually a good player.
I think he's an unreal player.
I just don't want him to fall into the Kyle Flanagan trap.
That's what I'm worried about.
Plays 2 games and gets dropped.
That's what I'm worried about. But he's been signed up by the Doggies, and he's starting now, straight up for his club debut. 603k, a bit underpriced for a halfback with his quality.
But then again, he's playing for the Bulldogs.
That's very true.
68 nil. What was it?
Yeah, something 64
ridiculous.
nil or something like that. The good news for Harrison Edwards is he is starting and is named. Is named on the bench again. Sorry. So not the good news there. I read that wrong. And Paul Allenbody, he's gone after having an absolute stinker on the weekend.
Yeah, I've traded him out a few weeks back.
I think that was coming for Paul.
Oh, definitely.
He's only young. He's only 19.
If he's playing for a solid team, not the Bulldogs, he'd be a fantasy keeper, I reckon.
Yeah, chuck him in on the left edge for Penrith and he'll be doing wonders.
Chuck anyone on the left edge for Penrith and they're a keeper.
Yeah. Obviously, Titans have Tino and David Fifita out for Origin duty. Not really much to report there if you're buying people in the Origin period. And the Dolphins, Jeremy Marshall-King has been named flats, but remains in doubt. I think Wayne Bennett said that he could miss the rest of the season.
That's huge because he's arguably been your best player.
Yeah, but the good news is that Kafusi is out with concussion after getting knocked out. So Lemuelu, if he kept hold of him, he starts in the back row.
Such a shame I sold him last week.
Is a shame for those that sold. And selling is the right thing, but that's just fantasy, isn't it?
It is.
It is. Mate, the buy hold sells. Have you got a few there jot down?
Since it's a buy round, there's not a lot of buys or sells really. Just holds.
Yeah, and like I said at the start, I think you're going to go out of your way this week to bring in an extra player or extra 2 players, especially with the amount of trades I'm seeing people have.
Yeah,
minimal. Just to bring in someone for the buy. So if you have some like around 10 people playing, I think you're doing wonders there. But have you got a few?
Yeah, I reckon there's 2 buys that are a bit iffy, but they still could be good buys. Toby Sexton, as you were just talking about, he definitely could be a buy this week. But who are they versing exactly?
Doggy's got the Rabbitohs.
He should get his 30-odd base stats, but it just depends if he gets his attacking stats, really.
Yeah.
And Valence Tafare. Is that how you pronounce it?
Yeah, Valence Tafare.
Valence Tafare. He's an absolute animal. He always finds his way over the try line, so he's definitely a pick-up for the buy round as well.
Yeah, he's a good find from the Dolphs. He scored a try. Scored 2 maybe on the weekend. Scored 2? Maybe 2. Can't remember.
Something
he
like
definitely
that.
scored 1. But he's an absolute animal.
He's hard to stop.
And I think the news came through on the All Out story that I think Brenko Lee got injured again, so he might be keeping his spot for the long term. Have you got anyone else down there?
That's all I've got for this week.
Yeah, and looking at my team with the people that are available this week, Toru Harris is a bit underpriced at 699k. He's always been pretty reliable type of guy.
He's been a reliable
Tohu.
fantasy player for years now.
He scored 63 on the weekend. Has scored over 50 over 50 in his last 7 encounters, and over 60 in his last 3. So, mate, he's a buy. I'm looking at Nikora for 717k. He scored 2 tries on the weekend for 53, but it was one of those games that you couldn't get any base ups at because they won 54 to whatever it was. 54 to 12, I think it was, or 16.
He scored a late try, which was lucky. He scored 2 tries, actually.
He scored 2 tries, yeah.
Which is really lucky for his score, because he was not looking good fantasy-wise.
I'm sure the buy, hold, sell will come out during the week, and there'll be more on there. But for now, what I'm seeing is that you're not going to go out of your way to buy people this week.
Yeah. I reckon you just... Because everyone's in trouble with... I reckon majority with either Hopgood, Gutho, who's it? Horsburgh. Everyone expected them to be playing fantasy... Well, playing NRL this week, but it turns out they're playing for Origin, so... Bit of a pain in the ass, but that happens.
Yeah, you got it spot on there, man. And we'll crack on the Q&A for this week. And there's a few questions here. One is Flats, hold or sell Buller. What are you doing with him?
Hold, because it's the buy round. Honestly, if there's a player playing in the buy round and he's maybe a sell, just hold and then sell him next week.
Yeah, he does have... If you're worried about his break even of 62, if he gets like a nice 40, he only goes down 24k. So it's not too much of an issue.
He actually does get base stats, but they just had one of the worst performances probably in their club history, really.
Yeah, it's terrible. And Flynn says here, when do we get our extra trades? I thought it was round 19, end of round 20, I've been told from Commish.
Yep.
Commish Door, end of round 20.
Extra 4 trades, round 20.
Extra 8 trades it is.
8?
Yeah, it's 8, yeah. News to you, mate.
Hey?
News to you.
Yeah, it is. That's actually real big news for me.
Yeah, so 8 extra trades this week, at the end of this week. What's to go with SJ? I've heard he might be out. Yeah, so like we said, keep a hold of the late mail there. It depends on his birth of his second child. So obviously, you definitely don't want to miss a footy game for that. Sorry, you definitely miss a footy game for that.
Well, then again,
yeah.
He's been there, done that, so.
No, he'll definitely be out if the birth of his child does come up. So he will be gone. And like we said, loop those people that you have in the emergency.
There's a lot of options to loop. Even Ponga. Actually, no, not Ponga. Is he playing this week? No, he's got a
Ponga's not playing. So you got Nicaramas. If you've held Katoa, he's another one. So try and just work out that loop. Lolo and Turpin to Fare and CNK to put out 13 this week. Would you buy a CNK?
No, I wouldn't. He's just... I don't know. He's so inconsistent. He either gets like a 60, 70, then a 40. It just doesn't... He's just a bit of a trap.
Yeah, he relies heavily on his like...
Attacking stats.
Yeah, attacking stats. So he doesn't really rely on his base. In saying that, he runs over 200 metres pretty much every game. So...
I think he's lacking on the tackle bust side of things.
If you want to take the risk on him, I like the trade to get into Fare. Turpin's obviously a sell with his head knock and Smith coming back. So I don't hate it, but if there's better options at wing fullback, which there aren't really, then I'd think of a different option there.
Yeah.
Is Hop got a lock at captain this week?
If he plays, yes.
If he plays, absolutely. But I think it'd be silly not to put the Sound Hines when he plays the
definitely.
Tigers.
He's coming off a 94 bombs though.
Yeah, just chuck it on Hines. And what happened to Turpin on Sunday? Injured or subbed? He got knocked out. So he'll miss
HIA.
So
What was it? What do they call it? Grade 1?
Grade 1.
So it's 11-day protocol.
11 days. So he'll miss this week and then Origin. And I'll see where the Roosters play next. They play on Saturday. So he should be fine to come back into that one. Just depends if Brendan Smith's out or
It's
not.
probably going to be a sell by then.
Yeah. His break even's a bit too high now. I think it's... Let me check. Where does it say? Oh, it doesn't say it here because he's on the buy, but his break even will be a bit too high. Anything else to cover, mate?
Not really, honestly.
I think we summed it up pretty well.
It's a bit of a quiet weekend with the bye round, but then next week will be huge with Origin.
Yeah, so Origin next week. We'll do a debrief podcast on Origin. Hopefully it's a 3-0 thrashing. That's what we're hoping for. And I'm pretty sure that New South Wales fans might be hoping for the same thing. Put them out of misery. I'll ask you this before we wrap it up. Freddie stays or is he gone?
He should have been gone 2 years ago. He's definitely gone. The way I just don't see how they will have any trust in him now. Even the players, I don't. Latrell 2 years ago came out and said that he doesn't really trust Freddie. Like, do you remember that? Because they
vaguely, yeah.
They picked him for one game, and then the next game they didn't pick him, and they didn't give him a call. I don't know. I think New South Wales and the players are just going to lose trust in him.
Yeah,
if not, they already have.
I think he's gone. And do you have a replacement coach?
I do actually. So Maguire's the backup coach for Raiders now.
Madge, yeah.
Madge and Ricky Stewart, I reckon, should be in line. Because I read an article saying Madge can take over the coaching role for the Raiders while Ricky Stewart takes over New South Wales. So I reckon that's the way they should go because Ricky Stewart knows how to coach a mongrel
bit of
team.
old school.
Yeah,
mongrel. No, mate, I like it. I think that's a good way to end it. And we'll next Wednesday, it's going to be on down in New South Wales.
Easy.
Remember to follow All Out NBA and All Out Club, our new accounts. Get your bareback biltong as well. Code AOF15 for 15% off.
Big things coming.
Big things coming. See you later.